Chris is from Canada and is equally amazing from all I've heard anyway. The week after that, there's going to be a theater production here. The San Luis Valley Theater Company is doing a show called Poles Apart. And their advertisement shows a woman dancing around a pole. So I don't know where we're going to put it. No, that's their thing. But anyway, it's a comedy. It should be fun. August 24th, which is a Thursday, my friend Eliza Gilkison will be here, and I'll be playing along with her. Eliza currently has the #1 album on the folk music charts in the country, with a record that was recorded about 7 miles that way at Dog Records. August 25th, our friend Gene Schilling, who's retiring as an art professor from Hampton State, is having a retrospective show here. That should be a lovely gathering. September 2nd, Gabrielle Louise, wonderful singer-songwriter, I think originally from the Denver Boulder area. She got quite a following here in Alamosa, and should be a beautiful show. September 10th, Irish singer-songwriter who is now living in Austin named Pat Byrne. He's up here for the Big Barn Dance Music Festival in Taos that I've been hearing about him for years. I haven't heard him yet, so looking forward to that. Anyway, it goes on and on. I won't belabor the point, but we'll try to keep you posted. If you bought tickets, you're probably on our email list, and I'll try not to badger you too much or abuse your inbox or anything like that. But thank you so much for coming out. Tonight, these guys are just amazing. If you've seen them before, or if you've seen any of their videos, their virtuosity is just stunning. The beauty of the instruments is stunning, hypnotizing. They're great folks, beautiful vocals. I mean, it's like they've really got it all. It's such a pleasure to have them here. Would you please welcome Joe and Hannah, Acoustic Eidolon.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, give it up for Dawn Richmond. Thank you, Dawn. You rock. Well, hello, everybody. We are thrilled to be back. We were actually here last November. It was really cold. That's what we remembered. But we're thrilled to be back. This is such a cool place. And yeah, we're going to just get right into it here. We're going to do this as an original Celtic-inspired piece. We wrote about a fishing village on the eastern coast of Scotland. This is a gorgeous place called Stonehaven. Thank you. So how many of you are seeing us for the first time with a show of hands? Whoa, has anybody seen us before? Okay, a few. Thank you. Okay, mostly new audience. Okay, then I just want to take a quick moment here and explain to you what separates Hannah and myself from all the other cello guitar duos that you see out there these days. And, and it's actually these double neck acoustics that I play. These are instruments that I designed and had custom built right here in Colorado. I grew up playing 5-string bluegrass banjo as well as guitar. And I call this instrument my 14-string double neck guitjo, half guitar, half banjo. It's also affectionately known as dos neckis as well, for all you beer drinkers. And so I had this guitar built, and I said, I told the builder I'd like you to build it, and I'd like the bottom neck strung like a 5-string banjo. So those first 5 strings are the same as a banjo, but I had him add 2 additional melody strings for a total of 7 strings. The upper neck is strung like a traditional guitar, and it has an extra bass note for its 7th string. So it gives the instrument a lot of range. And but I've developed this technique where I play both necks at the same time. And I do that by playing melody notes with my right hand on the bottom strings. While that hand's busy with melody, that frees up my left hand to pick bass notes and chords on the upper neck. You can pick a string instrument with your left hand or your right hand, it doesn't matter. There's also a technique called a hammer-on, and you can play notes simply by hammering on. So bass notes and chords here, melody here. Does that make sense? Kind of. When you put it all together, it sounds like. Thank you so much. Thank you. And that's a cello.
It is a cello. It's so magnificent. It's true. Well, I will tell you a bit more of my cello story in a few songs, so her time will come.
Yeah. So this is Dos Neckis number 2. It's strung the same as the other one, but all 6 necks up here are in different open tunings, which allows me to create sounds and arrangements of things and just always keep it interesting for myself. So anyway, we're going to do one of our cover tunes we like to do. This is actually an old Simon and Garfunkel tune, and I hope you'll recognize it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So that was Sound of Silence, in case that's going to sit there and bug you all night. What was that song? And we didn't say this earlier, but if you're joining us online as well, thank you, and hello and greetings to you guys as well. That's awesome. So the time has come for me to tell you just a little bit about my cello. And I started playing the cello when I was 8 years old. And by the time I turned 10, I started a piggy bank cello fund because I had realized two things by then. One is that someday I would have to buy a cello that would be my voice in this lifetime. And the second thing I realized was that that was probably going to be pretty expensive. So sure enough, it was. So it was a good thing that I started it. So as I kept playing the cello, I just kept looking for the cello that might be my voice someday. Well, I could always hear this sound in my head, but I was not finding that in an instrument. What I could hear was this big, dark, round, full, muscular sort of cello sound somehow. I mean, very dark chocolate, right, as far as the flavors. And so I was searching. So I found a cello builder actually living here in Colorado at the time named Christopher Dungy, and I called him up one day and said, I'd love to know the next time you have a cello built. And he said, you're in luck. I just finished one yesterday. And he said, you should come meet it. So I did. I drove to his shop, sat down, and played this cello that had never been played before, and it had that sound. So I was thrilled. It's like, oh, there you are, you know. So I commissioned a cello from him, took delivery, and that cello and I started singing through our years together. Well, we didn't get too far into that journey before that cello was actually in an airline baggage accident. And it was a bad one where it split the top and then it splintered in the back as well. And so it just devastated the instrument.
United. United,
It was.
if you're wondering, United Airlines.
It's true. It was, yeah. And yes, we're still naming names on that one. Sorry. We try to be very forgiving people in this world. But so I took the pieces back to Chris Dungy, back to the maker, and I said, just bring her back to life. Do whatever you have to do. And Chris said to me, Hannah, I'm going to have to recarve a new top to the cello and a new back. And the back is the voice of the instrument. But he said, I have this piece of wood in my shop. It's from the same tree as your original cello. And I thought that was just amazing. So that's what he used to rebuild her. So I took delivery of this cello. I promptly named her Phoenix, right? Because of all that. And Phoenix and I have been singing through the years very happily ever since. Well, then, a few years back, Chris called us up again. He said, you're not going to believe this, but I've just come into possession of another piece of wood, and it's from that exact same tree. And he said, Hannah, you seem to have this relationship with this tree. And it's true, I do. So bottom line was, I had this cello built. So this is Phoenix's little sister. And she just had her birthday in July, so she is now officially a full-grown cello. She will live to be, 300 or 400 years old, but she's 7, so she's reached her full voice. She's well on her way, and she told us her name is Sun Warrior. So Sun Warrior has been so excited all week to get to be the one to come back in the summertime in Alamosa and come see all of you. So she's been bouncing up and down in her case.
Yeah. Yeah, and turns out when Chris finished the build of this cello, we had enough wood left over to build this guitar. So these two instruments are built from the same piece of curly maple for the backs and sides and the neck. Ooh. As well as the same piece of Engelmann spruce for the top. So what that means actually is that we had twins.
We did.
They're fraternal, they're not identical, but they're twins. And as you know, twins keep you busy, and these certainly have kept us busy.
They did. So when we took delivery of these instruments, the end of that first summer, by then we had released a new CD with all the music that was coming through these guys. And then a year later, we released the documentary film that tells the story of the build of these two exact instruments. So the guitar builder's story, cello builder's story, our story as Acoustic Eidolon, but also just our personal one as Joe and Hannah, and how we've all been woven together, in the making for years. And so, anyway, the title cut to both of those is called A Tree Finds Its Voice. And so that's the piece we'd like to play for you now. And in this piece, we actually get out of the way of the tree. We figure enough history there. So it's the tree that is going to sing its song to you. It's not me singing it. So it'll make more sense.
I'm like a phoenix, strumming chords upon the sun, setting fire to the part of you that feels the drum. And now I'm singing with fingers on steel, heartbeats on wood, breaking me. Carved I dance as if we're one. My melodies you've not yet sung. I'm the cry down in your bones, whispering with silken tones. And I'm the words you cannot say, the voice you heard. Don't turn away. You and I, we are free. You're the song, I'm the dream. I'm like a phoenix, strumming chords upon the sun, setting fire to the part of you that it feels the drum. And now I'm singing with fingers on steel, heartbeats on wood, making me I'm the cry down in your bones, whispering with silken tones. Beside my roots a river flows, my branches reach and turn to gold. Thank you so much. Thank you. So Hannah and I, we do about 100 shows or so a year here in the U.S. and as well as Europe every year, and it's quite an honor for us. We feel that very honored to be able to travel around and share our music with people. But we've gotten to play in some pretty cool venues over the last several years, and more recently we added a new one to that list. And we did, a couple summers ago, we did 2 weeks of concerts on the Faroe Islands. And if you don't know the Faroe Islands, they're a group of 18 islands that sit out in the middle of the North Atlantic, halfway between Iceland and Scotland, and they're spectacular. They're 18 volcanic islands that just jet out of the sea, and yeah, very inspiring place to spend 2 weeks.
It is. And so because we were there for this, 2 weeks of music, we had the daytimes free, so we could take hikes. We were on a different island every day. We would take hikes through the day and explore that island and then do a concert that night in a venue there, and then we'd move to the next island the next day. And the islands are all connected by tunnels and ferries, and so it's an amazing way of life, actually, to get to be part of for that amount of time even. It was magical. And so the venues range from being, these little old wooden churches that are right on the water, that are sort of washed with the black tar, and they're very distinctive. If you Google them, you'll recognize them in all the photos you see after that. But anyway, they range from that kind of a venue up to the weirdest one, I think, or the most unusual, was actually a sea cave. And so it was under one of the islands. So what happened for that one was our audience got to ride over in this beautiful wooden ship with masts and sails. It was just gorgeous. And we did not. We got shot over from another island in this little rubber speedboat, which was very exciting. And so we met our audience, but then in the big waves, they had to move from their ship into little rubber boats like ours, and we went into the cave in those because the ship doesn't fit inside the cave. So it's an all-natural sea cave. There's no, stage, there's no electricity, there's no shore or place to get out. We're just in the rubber boats inside this huge cave with the waves, hitting the back wall of this space the entire time. It was just magical, and the shaft of sunlight came out and lit the center of the cave for the hour that we were able to give a concert in there. And at one point, we all shone our headlights collectively up, and we actually couldn't see the top of the cave. So it's like being in this huge cathedral. It was just magical. And so then something changed, and the skipper said, "Okay, time to go," and out we went. It was just spectacular. So anyway, as part of this whole experience, we had to learn a whole bunch of new Faroese tunes, and we were required to perform 50% of our set, Faroese music. And that was brilliant because, of course, that means we brought all this music home with us and have recorded several of them and all that kind of stuff. So we'd like to play one of these for you now. And this is one that's called Doimun. And the Faroese composer Christian Black wrote this piece for the smallest of the islands. And it's so little that there are only wild sheep that live on this island. And so we were on another small island at the time that we learned of this song. And I said, "Okay, so how many people live on this island?" And he said, 9. So, I don't know how they decide who lives where on the Faroes, but they do, and it's magical. So we'll take you there now. This is Doimun. Thank you very much. So we'd like to play the title cut to our newest CD, and that's the one that also has some of these Faroese tunes on it. And the newest one is called Remembering the Sun. And it's actually inspired by the very top of Alaska. And the reason is because I actually have family up there. And my great-great-grandfather was named Charles Brower. And when he was a young man, he sailed up the west coast of the US and Canada with a whaling company, and they took him up along the top of Alaska and dropped him off at the very tippy top. And they dropped him off up there with a pack of lumber and a buddy. And they said, okay, here's the plan. You stay here and build a whaling station and survive the Arctic winter. That would be good. And they said, and we will come back next year, next August, when the ice should melt enough to allow a ship to come all the way into the shore. We'll be back, and we'll come check on you and see how you're doing. So they did. And he had built the station and not only survived, but by then fallen in love with the far north. And he wound up staying up there and spending the rest of his years up there. And so he wrote a book called 50 Years Below Zero about all of his adventures up there. And where he put that whaling station became known as the town of Barrow, Alaska. And so, yeah, so it's really cool. So a few years ago, my son and I got to take a mom-son trip, a really special one, and finally got to go all the way up to Barrow to meet this whole branch of our family that we had always known about, but we had never met in person. And Barrow has since recently gone back into its Inupiaq name, so they go by Utqiagvik, and that's where we got to go. And so it was honestly, going up there and this whole experience was one of the most life-changing, powerful experiences we've ever had. I don't feel like we came back as exactly the same people somehow. So it was one of those.
I got a T-shirt.
You did.
I did. It was a life-changing T-shirt.
Well, it was long sleeve for the record. It was cold up there. So when we came back, my son and I, with all these, just pictures and experiences and connections, we wrote several songs for this CD that were inspired by that, including one called 50 Years Below Zero, based on the book that Charles Brower wrote. But the title, I was still looking for a title for the CD, and this concept popped back into my head that I kept hearing up there. People would just talk about remembering the sun. But it was almost like it was a special relationship somehow, and I didn't quite understand. So I finally cornered one of my aunts and said, okay, what does this mean to you? And she said, oh, well, it's the concept that we have of we must learn to carry the light within us for the times of utter darkness. And I just thought, that has got to be one of the most powerful metaphors for pretty much all of life. And so it just knocked my socks off, and I thought, yeah, that's probably the title. So I took this title idea to Joe, and yeah, he liked the idea, and he said, great, sounds good. Now you got to write the song. So this song came tumbling out. And I forgot to tell you, but when my great-great-grandfather was up there, he married an Inupiaq woman named Nacharona, and their first daughter was my great-grandmother, and then that's how it's come down through the family. And so when we were there, my son and I, they actually gave us Inupiaq names as well, and so I'm named after now both of those women, and that's a special part of the experience as well. So
yeah, I think you should tell them what your Inupiaq name means.
So Nacharona, it means a seal. Which I love. That's perfect.
Fits her great.
So this is Remembering the Sun. Darkness, if the sun never shone, would my heart
have given me freedom. You're a leader in song. How could I ever tremble when the music keeps us strong? Remembering the sun, we turn our faces to the sky. Remembering the sun, even when we wonder why. Remembering the sun in the times of the dark. Remembering the sun, keep it shining in our hearts. When the rain falls so softly by your side in the night, just remember you matter. Lift your face to the light. The sun will keep rising, though the clouds hide her face. Your heart will remember, and your feet will find their trace. Remembering the sun, we turn our faces to the sky. Remembering the sun, when through the darkness we must fly. Remembering the sun, nothing takes it all away. Remembering the sun, it lights each and every day. I can hear all your passion calling me with deep tones. It's the fire in my blood and the hum in my bones. Now I see what you showed me. You won't leave me alone. Now we sing through the darkness, even when we shine alone. Remembering the sun, we turn our faces to the sky. Remembering the sun, even when we wonder why. Dancing in the sun, each come of remembering the sun, you'd come off
Thank you. So I think it's time for some opera. We decided a couple CDs back to try our best at covering Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody. And as you know, that's a big piece of music, very tough. And so tonight, right here in Alamosa, we'll attempt to do on 10 strings what Queen required an entire band in a recording studio and what have you. So good luck. And if you'd like to sing along, please don't. Actually, if you can sing like Freddie Mercury, please do. And also, I know you all know in the middle of this song, there's a headbanging section. You look like a headbanging audience to me, so When we get to that part, I invite you to bang heads, not with each other, just, do this in time to the music. And yeah, so this is an opera. So tonight, Hannah will be playing the parts of Freddie Mercury and all Brian May's guitar parts. And I'll be doing everything else, doing my best. So here we go, a little Bohemian Rhapsody for you. Hannah Alkire. Yeah. Thank you so much. So we're going to do one more piece here and then take a little intermission. And during the intermission, it's pretty cool. They set up an Acoustic Eidolon mini mart out there in the lobby. So if you're enjoying the music and if you still own a CD player, we invite you to check out our CDs. We have our 13 CDs as well as our documentary on the build of the instruments. So check them out.
Yeah. So we'll, the piece that we'll leave you with is on the new CD, and it's one that we did not write. This is a Leonard Cohen tune, and we decided it was time to cover his Hallelujah. So yeah, I have loved this piece for years, and so when we were collecting music, I actually brought the idea to Joe, and I said, I think it's time. But I said, I think what we should do is do this killer instrumental rendition of Hallelujah and build, layers of cellos and layers of guitars and just build this sound cloud of Hallelujah. I think that'd be really cool. And Joe said, oh yeah, no. But he is my creative director, and for very good reason. So I listened to him, and he said, no, I honestly think you should sing this song. Well, that posed a couple of different problems. But the main one, in all honesty, was that I wasn't sure that I could authentically get behind the lyrics to this song. I honestly find them kind of uncomfortable or downright disturbing sometimes. And so I didn't know where to put that, what to do with that. And so I did what you do these days if you're wrestling with these kinds of things, and I Googled it. And I found this great article that Rolling Stone magazine had done with Leonard Cohen when he wrote Hallelujah. And they basically sat him down and said, what's up with the lyrics? And bottom line of his answer was, I wrote this song to be about the human experience of faith. And he said, faith is not what happens when everything, is going well and things look good on the outside. That doesn't actually count. He said, faith is what happens when things in your life have broken or everything has shattered and you can't even find all of those pieces anymore. It's from within those times that if you can lift up into a hallelujah, then you can know that you're truly living the human experience of faith. And I just thought that was a very powerful way to think about it. I hadn't thought of it that way before. So I thought, okay, all right, I'm in. But I still had the issue with the lyrics. So I started thinking about that second verse in particular where he talks about she broke your throne, she cut your hair, all these terrible things that are coming at you. And I realized these are very easily metaphors for all the ways that life comes in at each of us. And it comes in so many forms. It can come in through fire or through loss. It can come in through cancer or mental illness or any kind of illness. So many ways life comes in. And it's true what he said, that from within those times, if we can reach up into any kind of a hallelujah, then we know that we're living at least the fullest of the human experience, if not even perhaps one of faith. So anyway, I give you those thoughts as I sing the song for you now. And so you'll know lots of the words as they come by you, and you are welcome to sing with me if you would like, or hum, or whatever moves you. You're welcome to do that. But if you're doing that, I should warn you, one of these verses is actually in French. So when we get there, good luck. Here we go. There was a secret chord that David played and it pleased the Lord, but you don't really care for music, do ya? Well, it goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall and the major lift, the baffled king composing hallelujah. Hallelujah.
her bathing on the roof, her beauty and the moonlight overthrew ya. She tied you to her kitchen chair, she broke your throne and she cut your hair, and from your lips she drew the hallelujah. 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 Peut-être qu'il y a un Dieu au ciel, et tout ce que j'ai jamais appris de l'amour était comme moi battre quelqu'un qui tire plus vite que moi. Ce n'est pas un cri que tu peux entendre la nuit, ce n'est pas quelqu'un qui a vu la lumière, c'est un alléluia froid et cassé. I did my best, but it wasn't much. I couldn't feel, so I tried to touch. I've told the truth, I didn't come to fool ya. And even though it all went wrong, I'll stand before the Lord of Song with nothing on my tongue but
So much. Hannah Alkire. Thank you. Thank you. working? Oh, there we go. Welcome back. And this year marks Hannah's and my 25th year as Acoustic Eidolon, which we find, I know, that's how we feel too. It's been a great 25 years. When we started just as musical partners and friends and business partners, but somewhere in that first couple of years we realized we'd fallen in love. Oh. And so now we've been married 21 years, so we're Acoustic Eidolon for life.
Yes.
And
we are.
Anyway, so we've gotten to celebrate our wedding anniversary in some pretty interesting places. Perhaps we had all over Europe and various places, but one of the more interesting ones was we actually celebrated our 1-year wedding anniversary in Bentonville, Arkansas. Which, if you don't know, it's the home of Walmart. And that was very romantic. We were sitting there in our Motel 6 with the top of our wedding cake and just, But Bentonville's a great town. It's not a shot at Bentonville. But as the years went on, I got to celebrate in some other interesting and more romantic places like France. We found ourselves in France on one of our anniversaries. And we were so inspired, we had to write a song.
Yeah. So this is a love song for Joe, but Joe had to write the music to his love song because he's just fast about those things. That was awesome. And he put me in charge of the lyrics. So the lyrics came out in French, and they're very romantic, and they're all about Joe. And Joe doesn't speak French, so he has no idea what I'm singing about in this.
Yeah, prior to Hannah, my exposure to French was Pepe Le Pew.
Oh.
Do you remember Pepe Le Pew? Yes. The French skunk? Yeah, he was pretty cool.
Just like that.
Pepe Le Pew.
That's awesome. So Pepe doesn't actually make an appearance in the song, but had I realized that, of course, he would have.
Yeah.
So this is called When the Rain Falls.
It's how they play the cello in France. Just kidding.
Nous sommes amants d'amour, sous la pluie nous dansons toujours, dans le rêve du jour, avec les lèvres cœur à cœur. La musique nous emporte ici, les étoiles et la lune attendent, nous rions à tout, et nous dansons entrelacés.
When the rain falls, still we dance. This is the English part. In the moonlight, we will take the chance, living now, calling out, falling, now we fly. When the rain falls, still we dance. In the moonlight, we will take the chance, living now, calling out, falling, now we fly.
Nous sommes amants d'amour, sous la pluie nous dansons toujours, dans le rêve du jour, avec les lèvres cœur à cœur. La da da di da, la da da di da da.
Thank you. So we'd like to do a love song for you now that we wrote about a house. And the reason we did that is because I think a lot of us, just somewhere along our life's journey, we bond with a house. And I did when I was a little girl. I thought my grandparents lived in the best house in the world. And I grew up in Champaign, Illinois, in the middle of the prairie. My grandparents lived in Easton, Pennsylvania, which is on the New Jersey border, and it's where the rivers come together there. And so they lived in this old row house that was 3 stories tall, really long and narrow, and it had the double basement with a coal basement all the way down. And it was just a magical place to explore as a kid and hang out. My sister and I would play hide and seek in this house for hours, and we could actually genuinely lose each other for a while, which was kind of entertaining. But because the house had all these secret passageways and doorways that had been covered over, we were absolutely convinced that Narnia was somewhere in this house. You know, we were going to find it one of these times. So it was great. It was magical. And the house sits right downtown in Easton, which means it's about a block and a half or so from the Crayola factory. So if you've ever wondered where crayons come from, now you know. And my grandparents had nothing to do with crayons, really, but they were both full-time musicians in this house. And my grandfather invented instruments called the A-harp, and he's actually in the Steel Guitar Hall of Fame for those inventions. And he also then composed music and taught. And my grandmother actually taught guitar in that house until she was 90. And then she retired. Took a few years off. And so my dad was raised there to be a classical and jazz pianist. And there were just decades of music in those walls. And so Joe and I would stay at this house back in our early days as a home base on an East Coast tour. And we were doing that one of the times, and it was around the time that as a family we had decided it was time to let the house go and put it up for sale. And so as it turned out, that weekend that we were there, it went under contract. And my dad called us and said, well, you get to say goodbye in person. And he said, good luck with that. And so sure enough, Joe and I realized that weekend we had to help this house write its song. So this is now going to be the house singing its song to you. Once again, it's not me. And the house is actually singing to my dad because this was my dad's childhood home and then a place he grew up and then could touch back to through the decades. And I always thought that must have just been amazing. So it's just called The Address, 75 North 2nd Street.
I've stood here 200 years and held each of your lives. My 4 walls surround you night after night. My laughter is silent, but I echo with your talk. Doorways telling stories, stairways that can walk. Your father's hands were never still, creating every day. Instruments and music and teaching how to play. Your mother's smile still radiates through dust and sunlit beams. Shelves and shelves of their life work, I held them all those years. And as the years roll by, my roof has kept you dry. I'm the shelter from the storms. And my glory will not fade. This family we made. You're the beating of my heart. I watched you walk away to ride a bus to school with a backpack and lunch pail, crayons as your tools. At night you played piano, filled my rooms with your soul. Chopin, Brahms, and Beethoven, their stories you told. And as the years roll by, my roof has kept you dry. I'm the shelter from the storms. but your foundation can crack and still be strong. Banisters are boundaries, but the world can still go wrong. Window seats that held your tears when it rained from within. Shelves of creativity, then dust settled in. Plaster cracks like wrinkles tell my story over time. Cupboards painted by aging hands, their silence is mine. I creaked with your laughter, held my breath when you cried. I played the silence in the melodies of your life, and now a new family plays across my floor. 75 North 2nd Street, still nailed above my door. 200 years I've been here, and 100 more I'll stand. 4 walls and a lot of soul, generations in my hands. And as the years roll by, my roof has kept you dry. I'm the shelter from the storms, and my glory will not fade. This family we made, you're the beating of my heart. You're still the beating of my heart.
Thank you.
So, this is how the other half lives. A while back, Hannah and I were driving around out in the middle of nowhere in New Mexico. And there was this car coming at us. And as it went by, we noticed it was this old beat-up wreck of a car. And it was towing another old beat-up wreck of a car. A few minutes went by, and a minivan came by towing another old minivan. And it was the craziest thing, but this went on for a good hour. It was just cars after cars. Finally, I looked over at Hannah, and I said, you know, that's my life story right there. One old wreck towing another. Ouch. Well, you know, thinking about this, I began to realize how this was a perfect metaphor for my early years, way before I met Hannah. I have an interesting history with cars. I was actually born in a car on the corner of East Colfax and Peoria in Denver. That should give you a little insight into my childhood. And I owned 8 cars from the age of 16 to 25. My first car was a 61 Chevy Biscayne. It had a short in the steering wheel, so every time I'd make a left-hand turn, the horn would honk. Yep. Had a yellow VW Bug with a prolific gas leak. So I'd carry a little coffee can with me everywhere I'd go. When I'd stop, I'd put the can under the leak. When I'd come back, I'd pour the gas back in, and away I'd go. But my favorite of all those old cars was a Volvo wagon. And it was my favorite because it wouldn't start unless the passenger would lift their butt off the seat. I'm serious. Imagine explaining that on our first date. So anyway, I had to write a tune about all these cars. This is called One Old Wreck. I got my first car when I was 16, a rusty old Chevy, a seafoam green. Up on blocks, no battery, did not matter, was a Cadillac to me. I was one old wreck towing another. A lot of baggage and back just waiting to be discovered. Living on the edge, into the curves, what a thrill. Doing my best not to become roadkill. She was sweet 16 and built real nice. 4 on the floor with bright headlights. She was so much better than my old scooter, a 66 Plymouth Barracuda. Every once in a while, to get her to go farther, had to take out my hammer and smack her on the starter. I was one old wreck towing another. A lot of baggage and back just waiting to be discovered. Living on the edge, into into the curve, what a thrill. Doing my best not to become roadkill. Pick it, Joe. Okay. Well, I had an old Volvo, was pretty sweet. It would not start till the passenger would lift their butt off the seat. So I called click and clack and asked, what should I do? They said, just relax, enjoy the rear view. I was one old wreck towing another. A lot of baggage in back just waiting to be discovered. Living on the edge, into the curves, what a thrill. Doing my best not to become, doing my best to have a little fun. I'm a middle-aged man in my new minivan, doing my best not to become roadkill. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Thanks, that was one old wreck.
That's on our Lucky Man CD, which is actually Joe's solo guitar CD, so yeah. So let's see, I'd like to play a cello solo piece for you now, and this is from our Tree Finds Its Voice CD, and this is a piece that I wrote for my son, because when Joe and I got married a few years into our journey, we actually blended a small pack of boys, 3 to be exact, and so my guy is the youngest of that pack, and that means that, you know, when he was getting ready to leave home and head off into his life, he was the one who put us into the empty nest part of our lives. And so well, I have to admit, that was actually not the part of the empty nest that I was prepared for. You know, I was prepared to be really sad, and I was. But now that it's been some years and all that kind of stuff, there's a lot more joy in that than I realized. It's very cool. But it's like having a front row seat on someone's life, and that can be, you know, tough sometimes, but it can also be amazing as they start to find their pathways and figure out their own passions and that kind of stuff. So it's actually very cool. So I wrote this piece for Zach, and then when we were up in Alaska, in Utqiagvik, he actually shot a bunch of video and put together a music video of his piece. And so it's great. It has footage from up there and footage from the mountains here in Colorado, near where we live, and then some footage from the Faroe Islands, and all that's been put together and is on our YouTube channel under Acoustic Eidolon. So it's one of the places you can go check us out. It's kind of something that we beefed up during our creative COVID sabbatical. So anyway, so this piece is for Zach, and it's you'll hear it's sort of the conversation between my voice finding my own now path on my own, and his voice starting to find his path now out on his own. And so it's called The Journey from Water to Sky.
I am the one who climbed the mountain, I am the one who battled the sea. I am the one who tamed the thunder, now I call out to thee. You are the one who brings the dawn, you are the one who comes to see. You are the one who gives me hope, and your touch has set me free.
He calls out to me when I bend with the wind. My soul wanders free, still he calls me again. His strength it is vast, and his hand reaches far. Though my heart sings alone, still he calls me again.
You are the one who brings the dawn, you are the one who comes to see. You are the one who gives me hope, and your touch has set me free.
He calls out to me, but I bend with the wind. My soul wanders free, still he calls me again. His strength that is vast, and his hand reaches far. Though my heart sings alone, still he calls me again.
Hup. Very much. Well, we have got one more song for you here this evening, but before we do that, we want to thank some folks. We want to thank, again, Don Richmond. Thank you so very much for all that you do, for bringing us in, for creating such an incredible space. If this is your first time here, please continue to support Don and everybody's efforts here. They're bringing some really great stuff here to Alamosa, and join. You have an email list, right, to let people know what's going on. So make sure you join that and continue to support them. And we want to thank, with help on sound, Robert. Thank you so very much. Are you back there? Yes, thanks. From this, yes. And doing the video streaming, camera work, Brian. Thank you for so much. You guys all do great work here. And we want to thank the most important member of our entourage, and that would be our tour manager. She's amazing. She helps us drive. She loads gear in and out. She mixes our sound. She does our taxes. She is really, really amazing. That would be Miss Dina Carr. Thank you, Dina. And a big thanks to all of you for coming out and sharing the evening with us. We really appreciate the support.
We do appreciate it, both here and online. We just it's just such an honor to get to come and play a community like yours, and to have a treasure like this in here. Which, I mean, I know you all know that you have a treasure, and so we're just preaching to the choir. But I'm just saying, it's such a treasure. It's such a cool spot, and
great.
So we're thrilled to get to be part of it for a day or a night or whatever it is, and a bit of tomorrow, because we're going to take our time leaving here. We love it here. It's just awesome.
Yeah, tomorrow we're doing a show over in Levita at the Levita Mercantile.
Yeah.
So if you have family or friends over there, let them know we're coming their way as well. And
That's
then
right.
where are we? The day after that, we're in Westcliff.
Then we're in Westcliff.
After that.
Not
their
too far.
Sunday afternoon concert. And then on Thursday, we're in Nashville, so Tennessee, yeah.
The Nashville.
And then 2 days later, we're in Fort Collins, Colorado. So we're going to fire our booking agent. They're terrible.
Which is not Dina, so don't worry. She's sticking with us.
Oh, no, it's not.
But,
So anyways,
yeah.
thank you. And we'll leave you in another, we've covered a lot of ground tonight, but we're going to take you to one more country, and that would be Spain, another one of our favorite countries to tour. And as you know, their traditional music there is flamenco, and we're going to do an original flamenco of ours. This is called Rio del Fuego, or River of Fire. Hannah Alkire.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Want to hear one more? Okay. All right. Thank you so very much. We'd love to do one last song and actually honor a request as well. So,
Yes.
and we do have an email list back there as well if you're interested. And we'll let you know where we're going to be and all that fun stuff. So
That's right. And then you can join us on our website. You can join the email list from our website, acousticeidolon.com, but you can also come follow us on any of the social media platforms, and then you get to know the little juicy tidbits from stories of the road and places we're going and
we do have
photos
one
we
warning.
take.
We do have a warning
We
on
do?
Spotify. We've been on Spotify for years, but in the last year, someone stole our name. And if you just type in Acoustic Eidolon, you're going to get these terrible instrumental CDs where all 10 songs the same song, and it says like Acoustic Eidolon Chill, Acoustic Eidolon Rap, all these different things. You have to type in Acoustic Eidolon Artist. And Spotify won't do anything about this. It's happening to a lot of artists. They're getting their names stolen, and they won't do anything about it.
If you can help us.
Yeah.
I mean, if they were good, we'd just leave it alone, but...
It's terrible. It's terrible music.
If you tell people, go to Spotify, listen to these guys, they're great. Yeah, no, it's not going to probably impress them, so just so you know. Anyway, but I was headed somewhere else with all of this. But basically, just thanking you all for being here and inviting you to come along with us on the journey along the way, too. So, yeah. So we'd like to do honor a request and do a Joni Mitchell tune for our closing song. This is her Both Sides Now. This is on our Tree Finds Its Voice CD.
Rows and flows of angel hair and ice cream castles in the air and feather canyons everywhere. I've looked at clouds that way, but now they only block the sun. They rain and snow on everyone. So many things I would have done, but clouds got in my way. I've looked at clouds from both sides now, from up and down, and still somehow it's clouds, illusions I recall. I really don't know clouds at all. J'ai voulu laisser mon cœur danser la danse du bonheur. J'ai cru que l'amour était né dans un conte de fées. Mais aujourd'hui, je sais qu'il faut souvent quitter un lit trop chaud en souriant pour bien cacher tout ce qu'on a donné. J'ai vu l'amour des deux côtés It's life's illusions I recall. I really don't know life. J'ai vu la vie de côté, ces jours de gloire, de vérité, et c'est bien triste de penser que je n'ai rien appris du retour.
Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much.